Welcome back to the Philly Escape Pod, everybody. We got episode 34 this week, and Houston, we've got a problem. Big loss to the Astros in the World Series. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into the Texans game, and we're gonna obviously be talking about free agency for the Phillies, maybe a little bit. We're not gonna get into the Sixers until next week, and we'll also probably cover a bit of the upcoming game against the Commanders. First off, let's talk Phillies. What do you guys think? That sucked.
Oh, it definitely sucked. Dude, I was saying before or like basically as the game was going on, we were basically it was over. It was like 3-1 at that point. We just couldn't get a hit. I was like, you know what? It's as Philly fans, we can't just sit there and say like, "Oh, what a season." That's just not in our
I
blood,
agree.
you know? So it's like even though it was a hell of a season, we're just not like that. So it's like I can't just sit there and say this was improbable. I can't believe we made it this far. Took the Astros that like to a game 6 when they hadn't lost at all in the playoffs. So it's like I mean, it is impressive in what we did, but it still just stings so bad just to get that close and not win at all.
Well, that's what I had
But
a Yankees fan come up to me today and say, like, "Oh, we played the Astros and their hitting like destroyed us." And I keep hearing people on the radio say, "We had such a good season. You can't question Topper. Um, Everything he did led us to that moment, and it was improbable for us to even get there." But still, I'm disappointed.
Yep.
I mean, so I want to jump in here and say this. Like, yeah, I think everybody would want, getting the title, right, and having another parade down Broad Street. But I think for me, right, I think that's what makes us fans, right? Where like we want that title, right? But then I think we also have to look back. I think when you like, constantly want winning, 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 and that's what we expect as fans, sometimes you have to take a step back and realize like, man, that was a fun 3 months. Like there were a
Right.
lot of memories, like a lot of good things that happened, right? And like I think prior to this year, right, like I had always felt like when I would go down to the ballpark, like the energy just wasn't the same like post 2009. Like this year I felt like the energy's back and I like genuinely feel excited, right, for next season for what these guys are going to do, right? Because if you look at the roster, right, Harper will be back healthy. We'll have him. I don't know what they're going to do with Castellanos, but I would like to have him around. Schwarber, I don't know how long the Schwarber deal is. He's still going to be around. You're still going to have the left side of that infield, which is still young, and Bohm and Stott around. You'll have Nola. You'll have Wheeler. I hope they go and get a third starter because I think the Houston series exposed that we really need that third starter.
Well,
Um,
actually, I thought
yeah,
Suarez
but
was, or I thought Ranger Suarez was good. I actually
he
thought
was.
Nola was a bit of a problem. Maybe it was because he was overworked, I guess, at that point.
I think I remember looking at the stats. I think his velocity went down that last start. I think he just hit a wall,
That
right?
was
And I
it.
think that goes to getting a third starter to take the workload off of Wheeler and Nola, right? And making the last
Yeah.
few years. So I really hope they're active in free agency getting one. I mean, Reese Hoskins, we'll see. I mean, he had a great postseason, no doubt. The defensive errors, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's something you accept with him, but the monster offensive production is what you get out of it. I would love to see them active in the shortstop market this year because I mean, Trey they get him or they got Correa. Flip second. Segura too. I think he had a great postseason. So yeah, I think back to your original point, Jackson. Like yeah, I would have loved for them to win one, but I can't forget about the Padres series where Harper hits that home
Oh,
run to get
yeah.
us into the World Series, right? Or yeah, that was awesome. The Braves series, like no one thought we were going to win that, and we get through against them, and then to start it all off against the Cardinals. What was it like? Going into that ninth inning, right? It was like a 90% chance the Cardinals were going to win, and then we come through and somehow win that, right? Like, I think for me, it's like I'm genuinely excited for Philadelphia baseball again because we've shown we can win, right? And that's
Yep.
just been sorely lacking the last couple of years.
It
Well, I feel like
is.
it was a magical ride, and it was genuinely a blessing. It's genuinely a blessing to have baseball back in Philadelphia because it's the most exciting it's been since 2009. This is like the first time I think the
Right?
entire city has bought in, and it's like it feels like a baseball city again. It hasn't for so
It
long,
does.
and it honestly took till maybe like three-quarters of the way through the season to even start feeling that way. But it just I think once the fire started burning, it just was like you couldn't stop it. I
Yeah.
Do you guys have some criticisms I want to ask? Because I do think there's a couple that we could bring up.
Well,
I don't know
I
if they're
think
valid or not.
hindsight's 2020, right? I think everyone's going to call out taking Wheeler out in that clinching
yeah.
game because I felt like he should have had a chance to finish that inning. That's fine, right? Like that's a fair criticism. but you can't like one decision shouldn't take away from what Philly Rob did. He stewarded that ship from when Girardi got fired to getting us to the World Series. So like, you know what? Yeah, it might have been the wrong call, but got to give the man some credit. He took a roster that
Yeah,
probably shouldn't have been there to the World Series. So hats off to Philly Rob, but a little disappointed with that Wheeler decision in the clincher.
Yeah, I think
I
everybody's being too hard on like the decisions that were made. Like, I mean, I said the
Of
same thing.
course,
Like, the way that Wheeler was pitching, that's really the only thing like you could really say, other than just actual, players making mistakes. But I mean, the way that Wheeler was pitching that game, he lets up a couple hits, got a man on first and third, let him dig his way out.
first and third, one out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you should just let him dig his way out of that, and then because if you throw, it doesn't matter who you throw in there. That's a tough position to be put in for your first batter. So like I mean that's,
yeah.
I guess analytics. I don't know. Sometimes I think you got to throw them out the window, especially in the World Series. Um, but going back to what you guys were talking about with like the free agent stuff, I I looks like Reese is probably out the door. I don't think he's gonna come back because of just the needs that we have are much greater than paying him. So
Right.
that's probably going to happen. I don't know if you guys heard the Eflin news. I'm pretty
Did
sure
he's
he?
out.
yeah, he opted
He's out.
out. So no, he opted
Yeah,
out. So we'd have to pay him like a big
yeah.
contract if
He's
we
gonna
want to.
try and get paid as a good reliever. He had a great postseason as a reliever.
Well,
So
I
yeah, I
think he
hope he
wants to
gets
He
get
paid.
did.
paid as a
I think
starter
he's been really.
because
Oh, he wants
because
starter money.
because he was going to be our fourth starter. I think right. He was our fourth starter when
He
he was
what?
healthy,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
Yeah. So
Yep.
he had a tough year with the injuries and stuff. So I mean, that's tough because I do like Eflin. I don't think we're gonna pay him 20 million or whatever the hell he's looking for.
Nah,
Um,
nah.
And he looked good in the postseason. You have
yeah,
to
he was
say it. I
doing.
agree with you
He
He was.
looked
100%.
really good as a long reliever. Like I
Yeah.
Yeah,
really liked him there.
I've always kind of liked Eflin. I thought he was a good guy to have as your third or fourth guy. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, so I mean, like you said, with the like shortstop's a big one. Um,
I think
Castellanos,
I
we
think if
have to keep him kind of because like nobody's gonna pay that contract.
the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, so and I want to jump in here for a sec with Castellanos, right? And for not to cut you off, but like I
no, go
think he
ahead.
took a lot of criticism. Um,
From me.
for yeah, no, he took a lot of criticism, right? And what I'm going to come in here and say is this: if you remember one of those games in Houston, he single handedly won us that game, right? Like the bloop single, and then also the catch to get it to extras, and then JT hits that home run. So, yeah, you might want to rip Castellanos for like his overall performance, but let's not forget that he won us a game in the World Series.
I mean,
So,
it's definitely true.
I think
Yep. Al-
yeah,
I was gonna say also with Castellanos, he had like, I mean, granted, our entire team besides Harper was really bad. I feel like hitting for average this postseason, but he did have our second or third best average for the whole postseason. I don't know. I
exactly.
think overall
That is
hitting
very
for
surprising.
Mhm.
average is probably like we need players like I heard Xander Bogart's name being thrown out there. I just think we need some players who can hit like for good average. We had like
Trey
there were too
Turner.
many times. It just if everybody on our team's hitting like 200 and all we have is Harper hitting like 350, it's like the runs aren't going to stack up. We need to hit home runs and it's just not
It's a very
sustainable. I don't think.
inconsistent way to win games. So, I mean, I know what you're
Eh,
saying. I mean, Castellanos, by the way, like I know he had like got all the like criticisms coming from his hitting, and he's probably not gonna have he's probably gonna have a better year next year, I would say,
Yeah.
overall.
mhm.
But I mean, he made some plays in the field, not just that one catch. Like pretty much anytime he got the ball, he
Yep,
was making plays. Like so, he is a very good glove to
exactly.
have, and that's obviously super important for us. The only problem is, do we get another guy who could possibly be a right fielder or whatever when he's struggling, you know? Because we didn't
I
have
So
that
honestly
here's
this
an
year.
interesting. Go ahead, Jackson. I'll come in after. I have an
I
interesting
was
take. I looked up Castellanos' position history yesterday. Go ahead.
yeah, because I was actually gonna. I have a short take. I was just gonna say I think this is actually one of Castellanos' like worst hitting performances of his career. So I
Probably
think there's a
is.
Is
lot of reason to think
yeah,
he's gonna bounce back. So
Hmm.
I want to wait
of
through
course.
this and wait for him to probably bounce back next year.
So I was looking at this yesterday, right? Because I was thinking, if Hoskins not going to be back, right? They might. Is he a free agent this year?
Hoskins, I'm not sure exactly what his situation is, but I'm assuming
Okay,
I think he
so
is a free agent.
I guess that would change my take. So, well, slightly. So Castellanos in his position history has played third base, um,
Interesting.
which leads me to the point. He came up as a third baseman, and then they switched him to the outfield. So I don't know how good he is at third base. But if they wanted to potentially explore the idea of moving Castellanos to third, Bohm goes to first, right, to cover the Hoskin thing, and then you go out and get an outfielder, or you keep Castellanos in left, you keep Stott short, Segura second, and then you sign a Trey Turner or a Correa to fill that left side of the infield, right? So like, there's a lot of permutations and combinations, but I sincerely hope that Middleton gets active in free agency and especially gets into that shortstop third base market because there are some good options to be had.
I'm sorry, he's
Yeah,
not.
I think
Rhys Hoskins is not a free agent until next year. The year after this coming up.
Okay, so they could
that
potentially deal him for starting pitching.
Yeah, so I think we're dealing him because of the
Uh,
spot we're in. That's the reason
I
why I
think
think we'll.
because I think what you're saying,
yeah.
Harsha, if we did that, our lineup would be way better. I'd rather have Correa than Hoskins any day. It's
Well,
and
yes. I mean, there's a bunch of permutations, right? But it just depends on what they do with Hoskins, right? If they move Hoskins for a good third starter and then switch Bohm to first, like they could easily get one of their shortstops. Like Trey Turner can play shortstop, third, and second. So if you get him, you could stick him at third and be like, have fun.
It's true.
yeah,
Um,
And we all said it. Like, I mean, pretty much everybody in the city said it. Like, the problem going into this, not even just the World Series, the playoffs was the fielding, the
the
defense.
defense, yep,
Like, so,
of
like, I
course.
mean, that was pretty much, and it really
Mhm.
didn't hurt us until those last couple games of the World Series, where we had
Yeah,
we had the errors and just the missed double plays and all that kind of stuff. So, like,
yeah,
if we can get that up, man, like I mean, I don't see why they're not back there or close to back there next year.
yeah. You know, the expectation should be at least the playoffs,
Oh,
if not the
100%. I
division.
mean,
For me, that yeah, for
we
me,
don't make the
and go
playoffs
make
next
some
year, it'd
noise
be
in
a
the
real
playoffs.
letdown.
Yeah, yeah, you know, it just depends on what they do in the offseason, right? I think the priorities are just to get that left side of the infield fixed up. What do you do with Hoskins, and then also getting a good third starter to take the pressure off of Wheeler and Nola.
Gene Segura is
that's
another
what it.
one. I think he is a free agent coming up.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
he might be eventually. My things are I think like you guys are saying we got to bolster the lineup, maybe bolster the bullpen. No, I guess bolster the whole lineup a little bit. Um, my concern. What do you guys think about Stott? I don't know. Everybody seems to love Stott. To
That
me, it
was
seems like
th-
he's got like he really fights at his at bats. Like he makes the pitcher work to like get him out of there. But I don't know. I just feel like he's not hitting. Like, do you think
he's not the
his ability to stay
flashiest
in there
guy.
shows a good eye?
He's not the flashiest guy. Like he's not going to put up like the high average and stuff like that. But what I think you can't load your baseball team with superstars, right? It's not gonna
Yeah,
like you can't load them with that. You need guys
100%.
who will perform well in their role. I think Stott and I think there were multiple at bats where he, in the playoffs, right, you want to extend a pitcher's pitch count because you want to
he's
get
great
to the
at that.
bullpen a little earlier, right? Exactly. And I think Stott is great at doing that. I think he's great at filling his role, right? And he's still a rookie. He's one of our homegrown
Yeah,
guys. So I would be very comfortable with him at short or even second, right? Like him being that like 7 or 8 hole guy that could stay in there, extend a guy's pitch count and then turn the lineup over.
almost like a
So no,
role player at
I'm
this point.
exactly like as much as like you want to create the dream team, right? Like you have to have guys like Stott who are cost controllable.
Right.
Um,
You hit the nail on the head
you know,
there
I,
because
I
we can't
would
pay everybody.
I would, and like when people say like, "Oh, let's go out and get all these free agents," I'm like, we already have a bunch of guys. Like, we're gonna need some guys that come up through the farm system. Like, you have a Bryson Stott who just came through. They've got 2 power arms in the farm system, Mick Abel and Andrew Painter, who are supposedly supposed to come up very soon. So, you're gonna need talent like that because you've got the Harper contract, you've got the Castellanos contract, you've got the Schwarber contract. Wheeler, Noel is going to be up for an extension, right? Like you need to start developing talent from in-house if you have these core superstar guys.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's pretty much exactly what I was gonna say about Stott. I mean, the only other thing is like it's a little questionable, I guess, if he can play second base because I'm not sure how how good he is at that position really in the majors because I don't think we've seen much of him there, have we?
For me, I feel like if
We,
you can play shortstop, you can play second.
Yeah,
yeah,
Because
I
it's
mean, if you were to
a
look at
harder
like
position.
Brits, if you look at like Ian Kinsler, for example, he was a second baseman with the Texas Rangers for a very long time. He would flex to shortstop when they need him to. Um, so yeah, to
yeah,
Jackson's point, you can put like it's pick upable, right? Like Gene Sakura is a perfect example. He played shortstop
Yeah.
and he played second.
Okay, fair enough.
So it's doable, right? But like he's not gonna wow you at the position. He's gonna be a solid player to have on your roster.
Yeah.
Like if you wanna, I think maybe he's a step above. Like I don't know if you guys remember David Eckstein. He was a shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals for a long time. Didn't put up the best regular season stats, but when it came to the playoffs, he was a performer, right? And that's what you get out of Stott. You get a guy who's going to perform in the playoffs, extending pitch counts, giving you solid defense, being a threat on the bases.
Yeah. No, I mean I like Stott. I'm pretty sure we're definitely. I mean we're definitely gonna keep him on
Mm-hmm.
the roster. Depends. I just think it's a question of like how much he's gonna be in the like starting lineup, just because of like the way that he
Yeah,
goes against lefties and stuff like that. So it's really just those
right, right.
questions.
But he's only 25, Brits.
Oh
Like
no,
he's literally 2 years younger than us.
no,
Yeah,
100%.
he's got plenty of time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
he's
want to
got
get your
plenty of
guys' take.
time. No,
I want to get your guys' take on the whole lineup situation, the batting order. Obviously, I don't know. What do you guys think about the new age batting order where like the power hitter Schwarber's leading off? To me, it doesn't make as much sense. I feel like we should switch it up. I know that might make me seem like an idiot. I just feel like it makes sense to have people on before your power hitters come up so that you could potentially get like more RBIs. I don't know.
I mean,
the way their lineup was set up, right? It was, and just to make sure we're on the same page, Schwarber 1, Hoskins 2, Real Muto 3, Harper 4, Castellanos 5. Was Segura 6? Or
Bohm,
no,
I think.
Bohm
Where
was
was 8?
6,
Like Bohm
Segura
6.
8, Stott 7, and then Marsh was 9. So to me, the idea is like, Schwarber leads off, but as you go through it, right? So in front of Schwarber, technically, you would have a Marsh, you would have a Segura, and you would have a Stott, right? So technically, like if those guys get on, Schwarber should be able to drive them in. I think that's why they have him in the leadoff role. And then if that resets, you go to a Hoskins who's all right on the base pads, a Real Muto who's good on the base pads as we've seen, and then Harper, Castellanos as protection, right? Like to me, like I like the way they set up the order. I just don't think it worked. It worked well for Schwarber, but to me, it's like you need him to go through a full cycle to get. You need people at the bottom half of your lineup getting on base in front of Schwarber.
Yeah.
That's what to me a lot of times it felt like Stott would like the inning would start with Stott would get out, then like somehow like
Mhm.
Segura would get on maybe, and then like one of them would get on, one of them would get out, and then like you'd have Marsh come up, he'd strike out, and then it would be Schwarber up with like 2 outs and he gets out somehow. It just didn't like I feel like it
Yeah,
never panned out the way they were planning it
Well,
to. Like, or it did obviously in a lot of points, but when it didn't
that's what
pan
happened
out, it
Game
was feel
Five.
like they're doomed. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what happened Game 5 in the bottom of the eighth when Stott was 90 feet away from tying the game up.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you also have
exactly.
to look at the fact that Gene Segura throughout the regular season is like our best hitter for
Yeah.
average, and in the playoffs struggled immensely. Not just in the World Series, pretty much the whole playoffs struggled. Like didn't really do much. So
right.
when you're looking at that, I mean, if he just even has an average World Series, you're probably looking at a couple more runs scored. Like, I mean, you're not going to
Hmm.
be able to walk Schwarber as much like as they were because they batted around him a
Right.
lot or pitched around him a lot. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Gene Sikora hitting 200. What the hell's going on?
yeah, it's tough.
Well, I think that's why Trey Turner is more of a fit here than he'll ever be anywhere else because he's a high average hitter. He can hit for power, average. He can produce in the playoffs. He's experienced. I mean,
Almost
like
Harper
he'd be
like.
a great. Well, him and Harper are best friends.
Yeah.
So
Love
yeah,
that.
so
A
I
lot of
mean,
that going on in
yeah,
Philly, huh?
exactly.
I I mean, when we paired up AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts,
Yep.
it worked perfectly. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
see
I mean,
why we should pair up more best friends.
the competition's going to be from the Cubs to try and get Trey Turner. So I really
Yeah.
hope we can push and get him, and Middleton can spend a little bit of money. I think it's also going to help a lot if we can flip Hoskins for some pitching, because that'll solve our need of like having a good third starter. Because if you're throughout the season going with four good guys and you've got Gibson on the back end as a five, like it's going to reduce the load on Nola and Wheeler
Oh
immensely.
yeah. So we want them as fresh as we can for the playoffs because both of them were clearly just like tired out by
Yeah,
the end of it.
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
I
Wheeler
mean,
had a
you look
nice
at
bounce back game in the last game, but still wasn't enough.
the Yeah, Wheeler went game 2, and then they gave him the extra day of rest, right? So, and like I remember looking at the stats on this, it was like he was throwing 96, I think, game 2, and then after he got like nearly a full week of rest, the guy was back to throwing 98,
Yeah,
99.
Yeah.
I was like in the game 6, I was like, holy shit, like Wheeler's throwing absolute heat right now. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's what in game 5, Nola was pitching like I don't think he threw a single fastball, it felt like, and I was like, this dude is cooked. He needs some
He's
rest.
tired.
It's just like this
Yeah,
is too much
You
for him.
look at I mean, you look at pitchers and like they always say, all the announcers say, all the analysts say it, like if he can command his fastball, he's gonna have a good game. They always say that. Like as long as you're throwing a good fastball with good movement, you're putting it where you can put it, and like that's exactly what Nola was struggling with.
Yeah.
yeah.
It it,
So,
it, it is just he's tired out, by that point, and you can't blame him.
Still a good season
But
yeah.
though, still a good season. I
Good
mean,
season. Takeaways, good season, but we need a couple of upgrades. There might be some hard decisions, coming
takeaways,
in, but
at least
sorry.
baseball's back.
My
yeah,
takeaway,
baseball's back in Philly.
on to the birds. What do you guys think?
Oh, I mean, what can you not say about the birds? What can you not say about the birds? I mean, an
I
8 and
think I
0
can say
start,
one
man.
thing.
Oh, what can you say?
You like that?
Kirk Cousins?
Oh god.
Yeah. Kirk
Withdraw.
Cousins.
Oh my God, guy's a joke. Yeah,
Oh no.
your only L's to us, buddy. How about you
No.
calm down over there?
Jesus.
No,
Was anybody Yeah, go ahead. I was just gonna say, was anybody surprised we beat the Texans?
How can you be surprised that we beat the worst team in the NFL?
Yeah.
so I was surprised that it was close heading into the third. I think once they took control with the run game, it felt like the game got out of reach.
Yeah.
I felt like the combination of us being tied up at the half and the Phillies and Astros game being so close almost made the Texans Eagles game seem much more scary.
Dude, it was weird because we were watching the games at the same time, and um, it seemed like every time something good happened, it would happen for the good, or good something good would happen for the other team. Something bad happened with the other team, and then just kept going until the Phillies blew
Oh yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
I mean,
not
Uh,
not much to say about the Texans game other than the fact that we were tied at halftime, and then I think it just came to like the better team won. Like I mean, I wasn't scared at all. I
yeah.
don't know about you guys, but we're being tied,
No,
missing that field goal. Obviously, at the end of the half sucked because it's like okay, like where we're actually tied with the Texans right now. But I don't think I was ever really in doubt that we were going to take control of that game at some point.
no, yeah.
so
It felt like I was just gonna say,
yeah.
I don't know. The one thing to point out that I was gonna say is that I think our defense once again stepped up big. You love to see CJ and
Oh yeah, with the pick
Bradbury getting
at
both getting more picks.
The
yeah,
coverage
great
continues to
point.
be elite, dude.
Mhm.
What were you gonna say, Harlan?
I So the one thing, so like Brits, I want to touch on your point. I think this will relate to something I said on one of our earlier episodes. We talked about Jalen Hurts like being in a tough game, right, and being able to dig it out for us. Like, a win's a win in the NFL. Wins are hard to come by. But tied at halftime, like you don't like if this were last year, I would feel nervous, right? Because Jalen doesn't have weapons to go to. But I mean, you look at some of the guys he's got this year, right? Like, okay, our number one wide receiver is AJ Brown. Okay, go cover him. Okay, then we'll just go to Devontae Smith. Okay, cover him. Go to Dallas Goddard. Okay, if you have three people, which is very few teams in this league, I can go to the running game because our offensive line is healthy.
Right.
Right? Like to me, I feel more comfortable with Jalen being like it's growing in comfortability just being in those tough games because he has the weaponry to win.
Yeah, I mean it's almost crazy to see it. Like our offense
Mhm.
is looking like a well-oiled machine in every single athletic facet of it. So like you
Right?
said, there's three guys we can go to. They're all competent, more than competent. AJ Brown is a star in the league, possibly looking like a top 3, top 4 receiver in the league right now. I
Jackson, I still want him in a trade.
The fact
Jackson,
that you tried to get him for freaking Singletary, dude, Devin Singletary. There's no chance I was ever trading AJ Brown for Devin Singletary.
I got CD Lamb for Singletary, so I think I
That's
took a
insane
double
to
on
me.
that.
That's
by the
insane to me.
way, did you guys see the stat that AJ Brown has more receiving yards than the entire wide receiver core of the Titans right now?
Yep. Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I,
I saw that.
didn't they not complete a pass to any
They
wide receiver last week?
Yeah.
I don't know if it finished the game like that,
That's
but
fucked up.
I'm pretty sure it did. They had 0 catches by a wide receiver. That
That's fucked
is
up.
Well, Okay,
Unbelievable, and
so
they almost won.
yeah, they
They
almost
blew it. They
yeah.
blew it. They
To be
blew
fair,
it.
Traylon Burks is on IR, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's not good.
and he looks
Yeah,
and Traylon Burks does look good, but like getting rid of AJ Brown, you're an idiot.
yeah. I take
Yeah,
AJ Brown in his fourth year over Treylon Burks.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
Harsha, I think you this week might be an earlier ending, I think, or maybe a bit of an abrupt ending than usual, because we're not gonna really get into, I think, the Commanders game until next week. I'm assuming we're probably gonna get this podcast out and another one before the next Eagles game happens. So we'll probably get our
yeah,
predictions for that one in. I just know, Harsha, you have to go pretty soon. I don't want to end up holding
yeah.
you longer than you're able to stay.
No, you're good.
You
I got
you
like
guys want to
another
do some
5-10 minutes.
okay, let's
You want to keep
let's
going on
hop.
the game, or do you want to keep going on next week, or do you want to save that?
Well, do you want to save the Commanders game for next week?
All right, we'll save the Commanders for next week, and then
Yeah,
well, let's just do like a overhaul of like what are our actual aspirations for this season now? Like, how do we really feel about this team? Like, if we get that number one seed, that looks like we're gonna get.
Okay, all right. Let's do half of that, and then also alternatively, I was thinking I could also I wanted to throw out a couple Madden rankings for some Eagles players and get your guys'
Ooh,
takes on them.
I
See if
like
you
that.
guys
okay, I like that.
agreed
All
or
right,
disagreed with them.
Okay, so we'll start with the our how the team overall season's gonna go. I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
let's go.
8-0.
It's
We're
looking good.
we're leading division by 2 games now, by against the Giants and the Cowboys. They both just came off a bye, so they'll be we're no buys for the us three. The Vikings are 7-1, so they are our number one seed opponent right now.
Hmm.
Um, that's I mean pretty much it for the NFC because I mean Bucks stink, Rams stink. Uh, Green Bay stinks. Like I don't know what to say. Like the NFC looks like it's us and the Vikings, and that's pretty much it.
Well, the scary part is
And the
I think
Seahawks are a
it's
little
us, the Vikings.
little worrisome, but
I'm not too worried about the Seahawks, but who I am worried about is the 49ers.
yes, that's true. I did leave them out. Yeah, the 49ers are good. That roster is probably I'd say like toe to toe with the Vikings. They might be that might be a better roster. You know what I mean? If you're going in the
Oh yeah.
playoffs playing against them, I would say like I would be more
yeah.
scared of the Vikings than or I'm sorry, the Niners than the Vikings. But what do you got? What do you guys think?
I think right now. Here's my thing. Every time towards the end of the year, there's always that one team that gets hot and then knocks everybody out, right? Like I know the Bucks are under 500, but being but all of us have grown up in a Tom Brady era, so I will not bet against that man to at least make the playoffs, right? And like once that man's in the playoffs, it gets a little it gets interesting.
Yeah, I mean, going against Tom Brady would be. I'm not gonna say I'd be overly confident, but I do think we are a better team than them. But I guess
Of course,
and it looks like the way things are going, if we do get one or two, and they probably sneak in with like their winning their division at like a lower seed, could play them. It's very possible.
So
right? And all you need is to get in.
Yeah.
for me, um, I'm loving the 8-0. I think that we're probably going to continue winning. Maybe till the end of the year. I think that we well, there's obviously a little bit of trepidation or like I'm kind of scared of the Giants game a little bit. I'm kind of scared of the Packers game, and I'm kind of scared of the Saints slash Cowboys games. But however, I would like what I would like to see happen is either because I think it would be the most interesting. The Packers, like you're saying, like you're saying the Tampa Bay Bucks could go on a big run towards the end and get hot. I'm thinking potentially the Packers could get hot towards the end of the year. Maybe as Watson gets healthier and Dubes gets more integrated in their offense and everything. I think that they could start to get hot. I'm hoping that by the time that we play them, they're already starting to get hot, so we can get some experience against them, and then maybe play them as like a wild card team coming into playoffs. We could see them in like the championship game or something. I'm hoping either we play them or maybe even like the Cowboys in the championship game to
Playing
try and get
Playing the Cowboys
Yeah,
in the AFC Championship game was so possible right now, and it would be so
I know.
fucking awesome.
I think that would be sick. I don't know.
But
That's what I would like to see.
the thing with the Packers is are they 3 and
They're three and
6?
five, or they're 3-5 right now. I think, right, or 3-6, something like that.
They're 3 and 6. So like
Yeah, that's not good.
they can't win their
They are
division.
26.
They can't win their division.
No.
So the
Well,
Vikings got that on lock right now.
I'm
They
3 and
I don't
6
know
in my
how they're gonna
family
get the.
fantasy league, and I don't think I'm making the playoffs. I don't know.
So I don't
They gotta
know.
win out.
They gotta put on a run right now to go and make the playoffs. They're looking like they're one more loss, and it's like I don't know. But I mean,
Guys,
yeah.
they've done it before.
Oh,
They've been
absolutely.
in
Like
this
you can't.
Have.
exact
It's the
position
same thing with
before.
Brady. I mean, you can't count out Aaron Rodgers, but that offense
No,
looks terrible. Like
I know.
yeah,
really
It's
bad.
weird. It's weird because Rodgers is so good.
And
You
it's the
know,
same thing with Brady, but like Brady doesn't necessarily look bad. I mean, he doesn't look good like Brady, but like Rodgers kind of looks like kind of not. I mean, kind of bad. Like he's not doing really like any like
right.
special plays like we're used to him doing. I mean, that receiving core is super young and super like. I mean, they got some talent, but like nothing that he's used to. I mean, the Bucks
well,
have all the talent in the world on wide receiver, and they're not looking that hot. So like, I don't know. It's a little weird.
not not to like be like a fear monger or something, but do you guys think that because Brady spent so much effort like really treating his body right and giving it the right nutrition, just taking care of himself in general. And I don't think Rodgers has necessarily done that, or at least we haven't heard about it publicly. Do you think that could be like catching up to him? Maybe he's just like normally quarterbacks around this age, I think sort of like fall off. Maybe he's just didn't do what Brady did, and he's kind of just fallen off at this age. He's like 38, right?
Yeah, I mean he's getting up there, but like I don't think it's that because I know I actually watch a lot of stuff on him. He definitely takes care of his body well enough. Like maybe not nobody does what
Okay,
Brady does. And also I mean he's literally coming off of back-to-back MVP seasons. For him to drop off this hard, I think it's more the offense than him. Um,
that makes
and
sense.
then him like I think he's just used to a certain like excellence kind of thing. And Brady, you got to think Brady still has that. He's got Mike Evans, he's got Chris Godwin, he's got a ton of weapons on that team. So
And Brady,
He's got like
yeah,
7 good receivers.
yeah, like it's like Scotty Miller even. I think he's still there, right?
yeah, he's still there.
Rashad
Yeah,
Perriman,
he's pretty
Russell
good.
Gage,
Yeah, so like
Julio
Julio
Jones.
Jones is still there. I mean, like you got veterans on veterans, like
Not
so
that
it's
good.
like he's still got everything that he possibly could need, and he's not playing nearly at the top of his game. So like you got to think Rodgers on a completely new wide receiving core. There's gonna be some struggles there,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you throw this Rodgers on that Tampa Bay team, they might be going to the Super Bowl. You
right?
know.
Yeah, you
Uh,
maybe think that, yeah.
I think that was all the more shocking that they weren't at least active at the trade deadline to like try and get some wide receiver help.
It
Um,
is
right.
it is very
yeah,
Well,
surprising. It seems
I,
like they're
I
against
feel like.
Rodgers. It's so weird.
Well, for me, it feels like the Packers are almost like against like free agency in general. Don't they like rarely ever sign anybody in free agency? Like to their
yeah,
detriment at this
They don't
point.
do much at free agency. They don't sign or they don't draft offensive players. Like it's very odd.
yeah. Um, I was gonna say just because I have to scram in a bit. I was gonna say for this season, I mean my ideal prediction, I would love to see a home NFC Championship game. Um,
Oh, that'd be
you
awesome.
Ooh,
know, yeah, a home. I think it's we haven't had one since what, like the 2017-2018 season. So I think these guys are going to at least get a first round bye with the way they're going. Um, and that remains to be seen. I would love a home NFC Championship game. That
dude,
that
that'd
to
be
me
so
is a
sick.
successful season.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
actually,
I
we weren't home in 2017, 2018, were we?
yeah, we were.
Yeah, we
We
were
beat the Vikings.
because they
I
were trying
thought
to
we
win in
were.
our home so they could play the Super Bowl in their home, right? Was
Oh
the
wait,
Yeah,
deal.
yeah, no, you're
yeah.
right. Okay, that's. See, I thought that because I thought they were gonna get back-to-back home games in the Super Bowl NFC Champ. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Mm,
But yeah,
Well,
that
on
would be
that,
incredible.
I think
yeah.
honestly, I'm thinking the audience is all teased up. They want to hear these Madden rankings, and we're gonna have to leave them on the end of their seat, right?
Yeah,
If you,
you know what?
Yeah,
I,
let's do it.
I think if they want to see these Madden rankings, they got to hit that sub button and tune in next week. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll tune in
yeah.
next
Yeah.
week. We'll do the Madden rankings, and then maybe we'll dive into or we're gonna dive into the Washington game, which I'm. We're not playing Carson Wentz this time, guys. What are we gonna do? It's much better quarterback.
We literally
Yeah.
haven't talked about the Sixers all freaking season yet, so probably a lot of Sixers talk we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we got to dive into them because
Yeah.
they're having their own
Yeah.
struggles.
Season starts now. Season starts now, as being said.
Yes, season
Okay.
starts
All
now
right,
for the Sixers.
Jackson, sign us off.
The podcast has launched and landed.
Landed.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys next week.
See you guys.